the excitement. Today's guest is a dear friend who I met yonks ago. Clear my ears. Oh, that's better. He's kind of at the top of the tree in everything he does. Writing books, he's number one. Comedy shows, judging, talent things. Well, look at you. Look at you.
We started?
Yes, that's the big thing. Everybody always wants to know, have we started?
Can you just count down and say when you're starting, please?
Okay, I'm going to do it like this. Ready? Get ready. Here we go. So, 3, 2, 1. I've started with David Walliams.
Hi.
Well, hello. Hi.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Got any questions at all?
It's not an interrogation. It's just two guys just back and forth.
Freewheeling.
So let's start by talking about the situation we find ourselves in, because it occurred to me that you are the most sociable person I know, and it's no exaggeration to say that in all the years I've known you, usually if you phone, you're on your way somewhere. You're never just sitting at home. So how on earth are you coping with this constantly being at home?
I've got used to it. I mean, I'm with my son half the time, so obviously when I'm with him, I'm very happy and our time is really full. And then the rest of the time, I'm working, so I'm writing, and writing books is something that you really have to be on your own to do. And I feel very lucky that so much of my work is something I can do on my own at home. You need an audience. You need to sing to them. I don't particularly want to hear you sing, but you feel the need to. And Jimmy Carr keeps telling me he's not earned £1 all year. I mean, of all people, I don't feel bad for him, but you know, if you're used to doing lots of live shows, I mean, that's not really particularly part of what I do, but it's very hard, you know.
But the stuff with audiences, I was going to tour in the spring. That now has been shifted back to the autumn. But even in the autumn, you think to yourself, well, will we be sitting in theatres then?
I worry if you'll make it to the autumn, because I know you're in the vulnerable group because of your age.
I'm in that. Well, I'm vulnerable, you know, with my age. You with your obesity. I mean, wearing black is good for you in this environment, but medically,
and you're wearing black as well.
I'm wearing black to look sexy. You're wearing black to look acceptable.
There's a phrase I'm not sure aware of. It's called fat shaming. Okay, it's not something me or Matt ever did in Little Britain, and so I don't expect you to do it.
I just read a thing before I came on with you. I read a thing. There's an advert for, it was something, I can't remember it, and it's being called out for being sexist and ageist at middle-aged men.
Was it one of your ferry adverts?
It's not a ferry, it's a cruise. No, it's not one of those.
You won't be doing many of those adverts soon, will you? Blimey.
No. Well, those are finished for me anyway. I've had my time. I've stepped ashore.
I used to love watching those. There's something very funny about seeing someone you know in an advert.
Yes.
You know they're lying.
I would only ever advertise something I truly believed in. So in my lifetime, I've done Crunchy Nut Cornflakes.
Well, I love Crunchy Nut Cornflakes.
Well, we can see. I mean, I'll give it back if you throw it out. That's the thing, isn't it? Talking about my wonderful working cruises is a lovely segue to how we met. And I mean properly met. I don't mean the story you like to tell, which shows me in a poor light of you walking past the Curzon Soho Cinema in about 2000 maybe, and seeing me sat in there with Julia Davis. Then you barged in, interrupted us.
Well, I just wanted to say hello to Julia, and I just thought, who is that grumpy guy with her who's just sitting there, just sort of shrugging, like, oh, hi, and you're like that. I was like, well, who's that? And then I saw you later on Marion and Jeff, and I thought, gosh, he's talented, but very grumpy. And then we worked together on Cruise of the Gods with Steve Coogan and James Corden. Then I realised you were lovely, and I adored you.
Now, fast forward about a year, 2 years, we go to Greece, to Athens, And that was where it was incredible. I met you for the first time, properly. I met Russell Brand, who was really an extra in it. And I met James Corden for the first time.
Supporting artist.
Oh, yeah, Russell was. James played a big part in it. And I was to meet these people then who were to go on and have a really big part in my life.
Well, James Corden plays your son in it, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
What's the age difference between you and James Corden?
Well, I'm 55. James has turned 40. So James must be about 42 now, I think, something like that. So it's unlikely. They managed to age me up.
It's like the difference between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I think Sean Connery is 12 was, and he's not with us anymore, but he was 12 years older than Harrison Ford.
Yeah. I think that's
Anyway,
the obvious comparison.
we had such fun because we were away working together, and also it's like, you know, just a sort of embarrassment of sort of funny people. I mean, I'm not including myself, but I'm just saying to be around you, Steve Coogan, James Corden, Russell Brand, and lots of other brilliant actors as well, was incredible. I mean, it was such a joyous thing to be part of.
Do you remember that photo someone came in the cabin and took of us sat up in bed looking as if the relationship wasn't working?
And that's a really funny picture. Russell Brand, he wrote in his autobiography, because I had this pair of white swimming trunks, and Russell Brand, one of the best he's done some brilliant descriptions on me. One of them is in his white swimming trunks, looking like a pristine amphibian, years later swimming the channel, presumably swimming away from his own presumed homosexuality or something like that. And he once called me a cupboard in a suit as well, which I thought was funny.
A cupboard in a suit.
Cupboard in a suit, which I thought was really funny as well. Because I sometimes forget how big I am, and then I sort of catch sight, I see a picture or something, you know, standing next to like Anton Deck or Simon Cowell or something, I go, oh my God, I'm like huge. Or just see myself in a mirror or something.
I now have a rule which I will not stand beside or behind you. If we're having a photo together,
You need to be in the foreground.
I have to be in the foreground, or I look like I've got a wasting disease.
Have you?
Not that I know of.
No, I know. I can't help being this big. It's sort of pointless being this big.
So you and I think, forged a friendship over a love of camp humour, of Frankie Howerd, definitely. Remember when you played Frankie Howerd and I sent you a message saying, I saw you in that thing last night. You're very good. You reminded me of Frankie Howerd in some of it.
Yeah, I got to play Frankie Howerd. It was very exciting because I loved him as a kid. I got his autograph as a child. I went to see him live many times. I saw him in a funny thing happened on the way before him at the Chichester Festival Theatre.
I didn't know you saw him in that. What was that like?
Oh, brilliant. It was one of those moments, you know, I mean, you can pinpoint a few, but you know those moments when you're young and you see, often it's something live and you go, I want to do that. Because it's partly, I think, you see Frankie Howerd on stage, you look round, there's hundreds of people all hanging on his every word, he's making everyone laugh, and you think, wow, imagine being him, you know, imagine that feeling.
Who was the first stand-up comedian that you ever saw on stage?
I saw Rowan Atkinson when I was at school. It was about 1984 or 5. He was doing a tour with Angus Deaton.
Yeah.
I think it was called Not Just a Pretty Face, but it was amazing. And then I got Rowan Atkinson's autograph as a kid as well. And I said, oh, what advice can you give an aspiring comedian? And he went, don't do it. And I was like really crushed because I really thought he was going to tell me the secret of comedy. Yeah. And then I met him years later. Of course, he didn't remember, but I said, oh, and you told me not to do it. So I'm really glad I didn't follow your advice. And I like still being a fan and, you know, and getting excited about meeting people. And the whole reason that me and Matt Lucas kind of bonded when we met in the National Youth Theatre in like 1990s, we were both fans of comedy. Yeah. We were fans of Vic and Bob. Vickery's Big Night Out was just starting, and we were big fans of that. And we would just sort of recite the catchphrases and all the kind of things that, you know, teenagers do. I think it's interesting that both of us have become friends with some of the people that we
idolised as kids and sort of really sought them out, and sort of made the effort to get to know them. We were both friendly with Ronnie Corbett. We both got to know Barry Humphries a little bit. I've kind of loved that, but I was envious of you, the one person, and I never met him. He was going to come on Would I Lie to You? He was booked to come on, and then he got ill, and that was Roger Moore. Now, how did you get to know him? How did that come about?
Well, I was in a restaurant and he was there, and I've been a massive James Bond fan all my life and a fan of Roger Moore. It was the Ivy restaurant, so I was already a little well known because I was allowed to go and have dinner in the Ivy restaurant. And he was there, and I was like, oh my God, it's Roger Moore. Oh my God, it's Roger Moore. And I was like, well, he can't go up and disturb him because, he's eating his dinner, probably got no clue who I am. And then David Frost, who I'd met, was also in the restaurant. And I said, and he chatted to me, and I said, do you know Roger Moore? He goes, oh, well, I know Roger very well. I go, let me introduce you. And so he brought me up to the table, and I sat with Roger Moore for chatting to him. It was so amazing. And then on his way out of the restaurant, Roger Moore came up to the table and went, I'm a lady. About one of the little Britain catchphrases. And then I met his son recently, and he was saying that Roger Moore told his son, oh yeah, guess who I met? I met the guy from Little Britain. It was amazing. He took me and my mum out for dinner because I interviewed him at the British Film Institute. And my mum was like so flirtatious with him because it was impossible. It's impossible not to fall in love with him. And my ex-wife was like, even though when we were in the 80s and we had dinner, she was like, oh my God, he's so sexy. It's such a twinkle. He phoned me once on my birthday. It was like, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear David, happy birthday to you. He went, it's Roger Moore. I said, oh, I'm in bed naked. He went, so am I. I said, it's such a shame we're not together. He went, I know. I just go, how has my life come to this, that I'm flirting with James Bond as he's calling me on my birthday? But he was just such a very, very sweet, kind man. And he had this quality that I think is the thing that people love him for, which is being self-deprecating, which is the most wonderful thing to be, isn't it? He said, I get bad reviews for films I'm not even in. They say, well, at least it wasn't as bad as that awful Roger Moore. He just sort of delighted in that. But he was a talented actor. He was a great movie star. Just lots of sort of silliness and jokes. And I always said about him, if he hadn't been so handsome, they'd have let him be a comedian.
Yeah.
Because he was really, really funny. He was just too handsome.
When people ask me about you, I always say, well, I don't know him. But if they press, I often talk about one of your most remarkable features being your work ethic. I think you have a phenomenal work ethic.
I like working, and I've always loved. I mean, I feel very lucky that we get to do something creative, and I feel like it's a brilliant escape. I remember being alone in my bedroom as a child, playing with my toys, just being alone in my world, and that's the same sort of feeling I get when I'm coming up with stories or writing sketches or scripts or whatever I'm doing. I want to leave something positive behind, and if that's some books that people enjoy, that's great. If it's some sketches people find funny still, that's great. I'm actually 50 this year. I mean, that's a memory for you, isn't it? Quite a few years ago. When you
Not really, no, 55. You know it's not. I see where you're going with the joke, but I'm beautifully lit here. This is the worst place to try that kind of joke. Well, you are one of my closest friends. We've known each other through good times and bad.
You've always been a really lovely friend, and your wife is lovely, and your boys are lovely. So it's lovely knowing you.
Stop it. Well, look, I could carry on talking to you for another minute and a half, but time is not our own. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. On behalf of the British public, please stop.
Thank you, Rob. See you soon.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, David.
Because you have to stop shielding.